The mockery of Earth. The great hall of the Galactic Council shined with silver walls and crystal light. Alien leaders from across the stars sat in their tall chairs, wearing robes and armor. Their voices filled the chamber, each one full of pride, arrogance, and laughter. They were the rulers of many worlds, the masters of fleets, the lords of empires, and today they spoke of a small, fragile world far away. Earth, humans? One tall insect-like leader said with a sharp laugh. They are nothing. A forgotten race at the edge of the stars. His wings shimmered as he raised his glass, mocking Earth's silence. They have no allies, no empire, no fleets, no power. Others around him joined the laughter, their eyes glowing with cruel delight. A scaled reptilian general struck his claws against the table. I fought them once on the border, he hissed. They are brave, yes. But bravery without strength is suicide. He leaned closer, his teeth sharp in the light. If Earth stands alone, Earth will fall. The hall echoed with approval, voices agreeing one after another. Some wanted to conquer Earth and take its lands. Others wanted to enslave humans as cheap labor. To the Council, Earth was a weak world without friends. A planet easy to crush when the time came, but far away. Beyond their shining walls and mocking words, whispers traveled in the dark, whispers of movement in space. Scouts from border regions sent secret reports. They spoke of strange signals, massive shadows drifting in silence. Yet those warnings were buried, ignored, and mocked. The Council continued its game of pride. An avian empress spread her wings, feathers glowing with arrogance. I hear humans still believe in honor, she said with a sneer. How funny. To believe honor can protect a world. The room erupted in cruel laughter. The galaxy's greatest powers laughed at Earth's name. In the corner of the hall, one figure stood silently, a human ambassador. Dressed in a simple dark suit, his face calm, his hands folded. His eyes cold as stone, he had listened to every insult. Every cruel word. Not once had he spoken, not once had he smiled. At last, one alien lord pointed at him. Tell us, human, do you still believe your kind has a place here? The question spread like fire, and all eyes turned toward him. The hall grew quiet, the laughter fading into silence. The human looked at them slowly, his voice steady and sharp. Do not mistake silence for weakness, he said. His words cut through the chamber like a blade. Do not mistake patience for fear. He took a step forward, his eyes burning like stars. Earth does not stand alone. The aliens froze for a moment, then roared with laughter again. His words were treated as nothing more than empty noise. One alien queen leaned back, smiling with venom. Bold words. Human, she mocked. Where are your allies? Where is your fleet? The human ambassador said nothing more. He only turned his head slightly, his calm smile returning. Soon, you will see, he whispered. And without waiting for permission, he walked out of the hall. His footsteps echoed like thunder in the silence he left behind. The Council mocked him even louder after he was gone. They thought he was bluffing, a desperate man from a desperate world. But some of the younger alien leaders shifted uncomfortably. Something in the human's voice had not been fear. It had been promise. A promise that chilled their bones, though they could not explain why. Outside in the void of space, hidden far from alien eyes, massive forms moved slowly, cloaked in the darkness. Engines older than empires hummed in silence. Armored hulls stronger than mountains reflected no light. The shadows of giants were coming, and the galaxy had no idea what awaited them. The Council laughed in their shining hall, but their laughter would soon die, because Earth was not alone, and the first thunder of Dreadnought engines had already begun. Shadows in the stars. The stars above the border worlds were quiet. Too quiet, merchant ships vanished without distress calls. Patrol cruisers sent out routine signals but never returned. And in the silence of deep space, strange echoes moved like whispers. Something vast was shifting, hidden just beyond the light of suns. In the command post of the Valar Dominion, alarms flickered red. A young officer stood before her general, holding a trembling report. Another patrol has disappeared. Sir, she said, voice cracking. Her general, an old reptilian with scars across his scales, growled pirates, smugglers, perhaps rebels. Nothing more. But even he could not hide the unease in his golden eyes. Across the galaxy, similar stories spread. Border colonies whispered of dark shapes blotting out stars. Traders spoke of engine hums that rattled their bones. Miners swore they saw entire asteroid fields swallowed by shadows. Yet when these tales reached the Galactic Council, they laughed them away as the fear of fools. Still, the reports multiplied. The shadows grew closer, the signals stronger. Encrypted transmissions in strange codes struck comm stations. The Council ordered investigations, but few dared to search. It was said the further a scout went, the less likely they ever returned in one such mission. A proud alien admiral led his fleet into the void. His ships were armed with cannons that could shatter moons, he told his crew. We will crush whatever dares haunt our borders. But hours into the dark, their sensors failed. The stars vanished from their screens as if erased by an unseen hand. Then came the sound, low, thunderous. Like mountains grinding together moments later, their entire fleet vanished from all records. Back at the Council, leaders bickered louder than before. They called it a technical failure, they called it space storms, but deep down, cracks of fear began to grow in their arrogance. Something vast was out there, and it was not bound by their rules in a private chamber. The human ambassador met with a small circle of observers. His eyes were calm, but his words carried weight like iron. You are blind because you want to be blind, he told them. The shadows you fear are not storms, they are ships, the alien observers gasped, some leaning forward in disbelief. Whose ships? One asked with a trembling voice. The human's gaze was steady. His lips curved in a thin smile. You already know, he answered, and said nothing more across distant colonies. The truth began to reveal itself. A miner on a frozen moon looked up from his work. Above him hung a wall of steel stretching across the sky. A dreadnought, so massive it made his world look small. He dropped his tools, his knees trembling in awe and terror. His simple transmission reached far before it was cut. The humans, they are not alone, were his last words. In another system, a refugee convoy drifted helplessly. Their engines failed, their food supplies low. As alien pirates closed in for the kill, the void split open with thunder and light. A single dreadnought appeared. Its cannons glowing like suns, the pirates turned to flee. But their escape was useless. The human ship fired once and they were gone. The refugees wept as the giant vessel drifted silently beside them. No words were spoken, but its presence was enough. Humanity had returned, and they carried power unlike any seen before. The Council still mocked, though their laughter grew weaker. They told themselves it was rumor, exaggeration, impossible myth, but every night, more stars went dark behind drifting giants. Every day, more fleets failed to report back. The shadows were growing, closing in, surrounding them all. The arrogance of the galaxy's rulers began to fracture. Some empires whispered of making peace with Earth. Others prepared for war, building their fleets in desperation. But none could escape the truth forming before them. The humans had been silent, but silence was not weakness. It was patience, it was preparation, it was strategy far beyond. The dreadnoughts moved in formation. Engines like thunder, hulls like mountains, cannons like storms. They carried not only humanity's power, but the strength of allies the Council never imagined. Civilizations thought extinct, worlds long forgotten. They all moved now under Earth's shadow. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. In the dark halls of the Council, the laughter finally faded. For the first time, silence fell heavy upon the arrogant. They did not yet see the fleet, but they felt it. A storm was coming, and it carried the name of Earth. The arrival of the dreadnoughts. The night sky over the frontier was not the same anymore. Where once stars shined in peaceful silence, now they flickered. Whole constellations disappeared as if something massive blocked the light. Civilians pointed to the heavens with fear in their eyes. Children asked their parents why the stars were vanishing. And the parents gave no answers, for they had none. On the edge of the Valor Dominion, a lonely outpost scanned the void. The officer in charge sat tired, half asleep at his station. Then alarms screamed, red lights flashing across the room. He stared at the screen, his blood running cold. Dozens of signals appeared at once, no. Hundreds, too many to count, too massive to understand. He whispered with trembling lips, "This is not possible." In the great chamber of the Galactic Council, voices rose in panic. Reports flooded in from every border world. Entire fleets vanished, colonies blacked out. And then the words that silenced even the most arrogant leader. They have arrived. The first true sighting came from the Orion Belt. A mining colony looked up and saw their sky torn open, not by storms, not by comets, but by ships, dreadnoughts larger than mountains, their hulls black and silver. their guns glowing with silent fire. One by one they emerged, engines thundering, until the colony shook as though the universe itself was groaning. The miners fell to their knees, awe and terror mixed as one. Some prayed, some screamed, but none could look away. The dreadnoughts did not speak. They did not broadcast. They only drifted with perfect formation, like gods of war gliding across the stars elsewhere. The Council dispatched their strongest fleet, 50 war cruisers armed with plasma storms and ion cannons. They rushed to intercept the human fleet, boasting of easy victory. But when they reached the human dreadnoughts, the battle ended before it began. The aliens fired first, their weapons blazing. Bolts of plasma struck the human ships and vanished. Their shields absorbed everything like raindrops on stone. The dreadnoughts answered with a single volley. A storm of fire brighter than suns erupted, and when it cleared, the alien fleet was gone, reduced to burning wreckage in seconds. Across the galaxy, fear spread like wildfire. The mighty empires, once so proud, now whispered in secret chambers. How did humans build such ships? Where were they hiding them? No empire alone could create this, and slowly, they began to understand. Earth was not alone, and never had been. On the bridge of the lead dreadnought, Admiral Marcus Kane stood tall, his eyes fixed on the stars. He was silent, his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, officers worked with precision, every man and woman calm as if this was routine. They were not afraid, for they had trained for this day, and now the galaxy would know humanity's strength. A communication officer turned to him. "Sir, Council channels are demanding answers." Kane's lips curled into a thin smile. "Let them demand," he said, his voice deep. "Soon they will learn that demands mean nothing before power." The dreadnought fleet moved as one, crossing system after system, blotting out starlight wherever they passed. Every world that mocked Earth now trembled. Every empire that laughed at humanity now fell silent. The galaxy's illusion of power was broken, and in its place stood a truth more terrifying than any warlord. For the humans had not only returned, they had returned with allies hidden for millennia. Ancient civilizations thought extinct now revealed their banners. Ships of strange design flew beside the dreadnoughts, united under Earth's command, bound by old oaths and trust. The Council's greatest fear had come true. Earth was the center of something greater, something no empire could face alone. Back in the chamber of the Council, leaders sat pale, their voices gone. They remembered the human ambassador's words. Earth does not stand alone. At the time they laughed. Now, those words echoed in their minds like a prophecy, one they could no longer deny. And yet the dreadnoughts had not fired on the Council worlds. They hovered in silence, watching, waiting. Their cannons glowed with power. Their engines hummed like storms. They could destroy everything, yet they held their fire. That silence was worse than any battle. It was judgment, it was warning. It was power restrained. The galaxy shivered in fear, for they had seen the truth with their own eyes. Humanity's dreadnought fleet had arrived, and the age of mocking Earth was over forever. The shattered illusion. The galaxy had always believed in its own strength. The Council's fleets were legends. The empires claimed their war machines unmatched. But the arrival of humanity's dreadnoughts turned legends into dust. The proud illusion that the Council ruled the stars was shattering, and every passing hour, the cracks grew deeper. In the Valar Dominion, warlords prepared a counterattack. They gathered their cruisers, destroyers, and battle stations. Their generals promised victory, their voices shaking with pride. "We will teach the humans their place," they roared. But when their armada finally engaged the human fleet, the truth struck harder than any weapon. The dreadnoughts advanced without fear. Their shields glowed like walls of fire, their guns like blazing suns. Alien ships fired everything they had, plasma storms, and barrages, but the human hulls did not break. Not even a scratch. Then the humans answered. Not with a full barrage, but with a single measured strike. One dreadnought unleashed a broadside. An entire Dominion fleet of 50 ships turned into wreckage in less than a minute. Panic spread across alien channels. Commanders screamed, soldiers begged for retreat. But their retreat never came. Their fleets were already gone. The Dominion's arrogance had died with their warships. And the survivors whispered the words none wanted to admit. The humans cannot be stopped. In another system, the Avian Empress, who once laughed the loudest, stood on her palace balcony staring at the sky above her world. 3 dreadnoughts hovered in silence, Their shadows swallowed her capital. Their cannons glowed with restrained fire. They did not fire, they did not speak. They only watched. The Empress trembled, her feathers falling loose in fear. For she understood the truth. These ships could erase her world in a breath, and yet they waited as if daring her to act first. Across the council worlds, the same story unfolded. Dreadnoughts appeared above their skies like judgment made of steel. Not a single shot fired, not a single word spoken, just silence, heavy and terrifying. The galaxy had never known such fear. Not from war, not from conquest, but from restraint. Because restraint meant confidence. Restraint meant power so absolute it did not need to roar. The humans were not desperate invaders, they were rulers standing at the gates, and every empire could feel it. The age of mocking Earth was gone forever. Meanwhile, whispers of Earth's hidden allies grew louder. Ancient banners flew beside the dreadnoughts. The crystalline ships of the Thalari, thought extinct, now revealed. The towering carriers of the Yorvan, long forgotten, returned, and even fleets from smaller races, ones the Council had crushed centuries ago, now rose beside humanity. United and strong, the Council realized too late that Earth had spent centuries building what they mocked most: friendship. The human ambassador returned to the Council chamber. No longer mocked, no longer ignored. The hall was silent as he walked, his footsteps echoing like thunder. He stood at the center, his eyes calm and cold. "You asked where our allies were," he said. He spread his hand and a holomap filled the room. Hundreds of dreadnought signals lit up across the galaxy, each one moving in perfect formation, surrounding the empires. His voice cut the silence like a blade. "Here they are." The leaders of the great powers lowered their heads. The reptilian general who once mocked humans could not speak. The avian empress trembled, her wings folded in shame. The insect lord who once laughed was silent now, their illusion of supremacy shattered before their eyes. They were not masters of the galaxy. They were prisoners in it, bound by human steel, and yet the humans did not strike. They did not demand tribute or surrender, they only stood, their fleets hovering like storms above the stars. It was not conquest, it was demonstration. A reminder that the galaxy's arrogance had met its end. The Council was forced to face the truth. The humans had never been weak. They had only been patient. Patience had built the dreadnoughts. Patience had forged the alliances. And patience had prepared this moment. Now the galaxy trembled. Its illusions burned away, because what stood before them was not just Earth. It was something greater, something unstoppable. And every empire knew it. They would never mock humanity again. The reckoning. The galaxy was silent, not because peace had returned, but because fear held every tongue. Across 1,000 worlds, citizens looked up at their skies and saw the same thing: colossal shadows drifting above. Human dreadnoughts, silent as death, patient as judgment. The Galactic Council sat in their great chamber. But now the light of their crystal towers seemed dim. The same voices that once mocked Earth now trembled with shame. Every insult, every laugh, every boast they ever made echoed back at them. And above their worlds, human ships waited. Like a storm on the edge of release, at last the Council demanded answers. They called upon the human ambassador once more. He entered the chamber without guards, without fear. The sound of his footsteps made the mighty lords shift in their seats. He stood in silence for a long moment, letting them feel the weight of it. Then his words fell like thunder. "You laughed at Earth," he said, his voice calm but sharp. "You called us weak. You said we had no allies, no fleets, no future." He lifted his hand, and once again the holomap appeared. Hundreds of dreadnoughts lit the stars, forming a ring around the Council's worlds. "But you were wrong," he continued, his eyes cold. "You were blind. And now you see." The reptilian general who once boasted of crushing humans leaned forward. His claws shook as he asked, "What do you want?" The chamber grew still, every leader waiting. Would Earth demand tribute? Would Earth demand surrender? Or would Earth burn the Council's worlds as punishment? The human's answer was simple, yet heavier than war. "We want respect," he said. "Not chains, not conquest, not your thrones. Only this: never again will you mock Earth. Never again will you think humanity stands alone." The words struck harder than any cannon. The Council leaders lowered their heads. The avian empress hid her face behind her wings. The insect lord's arrogance crumbled into silence. The illusion of their supremacy had ended, and now they understood their place. Above in the skies, the dreadnoughts moved. not to destroy but to remind. Their cannons remained silent, their shields steady, but the message was clear. If ever the Council forgot this lesson, the storm would return, and this time it would not wait. Across border colonies, whispers turned into belief. Small civilizations once crushed by the Council now rose in hope. They saw the humans not as conquerors but as protectors, those who stood against arrogance, those who gave strength to the forgotten. The legend of Earth began to spread, not as a weak world mocked in laughter, but as a beacon feared, respected, and remembered. In the shadows of a dreadnought bridge, Admiral Marcus Kane stood silent. His officers waited for his command, but none came, for the silence was command enough. They had shown the galaxy what Earth was capable of, and that was all they needed to do. On one of the Council worlds, a child looked to the sky. He asked his mother, "Will the humans destroy us?" The mother held him close, whispering with trembling lips, "No, child. They do not need to." The reckoning was not fire, it was not destruction. It was the end of arrogance, the end of mockery. The galaxy had judged Earth as weak, and now Earth had judged the galaxy in return. But instead of ash, Earth left them with memory. Memory sharper than any blade, heavier than any war. When the fleets finally turned away, the stars returned to the night skies. But those who watched would never see them the same again, for they remembered how the stars themselves had vanished, how human dreadnoughts had darkened the heavens, and how easily they could do so again. In the council chamber, silence reigned. No laughter, no mockery, no arrogance remained. Only respect, only fear, only the memory of Earth's power. The human ambassador left without another word. His silence was the final sentence, and every leader knew what it meant. The galaxy would never again call Earth weak, never again think humanity stood alone, for the dreadnought fleet had come and the reckoning was complete.